Hi, my name is Tristan Jackson. The organization that I will be discussing today is the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. The National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. The purpose of the organization is to provide professional development and serve for financial aid administrators, an advocate for public policy that increases student access and success, and also serves as a forum on student financial aid issues and is committed to diversity throughout all activities. And so I found that this organization ties directly into knowing about financials, because if students are not enrolled in classes, most of the time it's because of money, and it's because of financial aid issues, or they don't understand the financial aid process. And if students are not enrolled in school, then that affects our retention, and that affects our financials. That way we lose out money, that we can't keep staff employed. And that highly goes back to administrators. As an administrator, you don't have to be an expert on financial aid, but you should have some kind of knowledge of financial aid, who to contact in financial aid, kind of keeping up with them to if a student comes to you with a question, you can direct them to a financial aid administrator. So again, it does affect financials, and you do have to have some kind of knowledge. Again, you don't have to be an expert in it, but you should have some kind of knowledge of the financial aid process and who to direct them to in financial aid, whether you're at a community college, a private institution, or a public institution. The group of people that this services in higher education or financial aid administrators, that's who this organization targets. But again, you should, as an administrator, you should have some kind of knowledge of the financial aid process. The history of the organization was founded about 50 years ago, and it was to help financial aid professions, because in higher education, usually every organization has some kind of professional organization that they're linked to, that administrators can go to conferences. So I believe, like I said, this one is why I chose it, because I really think it ties into financials and is linked to retention. And again, if we don't have students in the classroom, most of the time it's because of financial aid issues. The organization has more than 22,000 student financial aid professionals at nearly 3,000 colleges and universities and career schools across the country. The organization serves 9 out of every 10 undergraduates in the U.S., and the mission is to shape the future by promoting student access and success in higher education. And I really think it's very important that students have access and knowledge about financial aid, especially dealing with paperwork and finances. That can be a little touchy subject, because there's so many parameters that's involved in financial aid. So I'm glad and I'm happy that there is an association that is specifically for financial aid administrators. The conferences that they have, the two that I found, one is going to be in February, from February 25th to 27th to 2019. It's in Washington, D.C., in the Leadership and Legislative Conference and Expo. And I found that really funny that it's in Washington, D.C., where a lot of things happen in Washington, D.C. A lot of people don't know that. The other conference is in 2019 too, and it's the national conference, which is in Orlando, Florida. So really good information, and I really think as an administrator that professionals, and especially if you work in higher education and you deal with any entity with students, that you should be allowed to go to professional development, because you're only increasing your knowledge, which will help you with your students, and which will help retention, which when we have students that are coming to class, paying their bills, then that only will help the financials of the institution. There wasn't very many, as an outsider without having membership, very much information for me to gain about the publications, but I did find 2 publications that I really found very knowledgeable. The first one was understanding loan use and debt burden among low-income and minority students at a large urban community college. And it was in Texas. There was a college here in Texas. And the reason for the research was to gain a deeper understanding about the effects of background characteristics on student borrowing behaviors. And most of the time, when students don't have access, are not eligible for grants because maybe the parent makes too much money or one parent is not willing to give up the information, they have to go into loans. So it's very important that as administrators that you are knowledgeable about, the loan process and, kind of help ease students' concerns about the loan process. The other one that I found that was interesting, again, it's talking about loans, and it's student loan, financial stress, and college student retention. As I discussed earlier in the video, that retention is very important and financial aid is very important because students don't, if students don't have their financial aid, it does affect retention. As I was reading through the articles, one thing that I found and it spiked my interest that 2.6 billion in free college financial aid went unclaimed by 2018 high school graduates. And I found wow, what was the reason that money went unclaimed? So it could be a lot of reasons. But again, I really enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed researching. And again, I am a college advisor at one of our institutions here in Houston, and I find that most of the questions I ask when students don't return or I call them and see why they haven't returned is because of financial aid issues. And again, it's very important that as an administrator that you are not have a little knowledge about financial aid so that it can help our student retention, which will go and help with the financials of the institution. In the organization that I had researched was the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. Thank you.